Welcome to the Image Critique Show with Jeff Johnson, Rick Avalos, and their special guest. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show.
Well, welcome to the show, everybody. We've been having some fun with this and would like to welcome you and this month's guest. So, Ricky, how you doing? It's good to see you again.
I'm doing terrific, Jeffy. You're coming along, brother, right?
I am. I'm sitting vertically, so that's good.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
So we've got a good show. We got 28 images that have been submitted, so we've got a lot of things to look at and chat. And of course, the idea of this whole thing is not so much competition or scoring or anything like that. It's just really to give you some feedback, positive and negative. Rick and I have been doing this for a long time. We just added up how many years, and it was scary between the two of us.
Tell him, Jeff.
Okay, between the two of us, it was what,
94 years.
94 years of professional. I mean, being member of PPA and professionally, and
making a living.
Still haven't figured out how to put money in the bank, but yeah, we're making a living. We're spending time, so.
It's that darn new equipment they keep coming out with.
I know.
So what do you know, Rick? What's new in your part of the world?
Well, I'll tell you, like everyone's experiencing the weather, and that seems to be the topic of the day or the month or the week or year, but things are great. Things are really good. I'm just hoping that all of our participants and our members are experiencing some success in their businesses. And if you're not totally ingrained in a business, that maybe, that you're growing in your photography. And that's one big thing and reason that we're here tonight, is to, help us all grow in what we're doing in our photography. We've got a very, very special guest here tonight, Kari Douma, from Michigan, and she's from the western side of Michigan. Wonderful photographer. I'm hoping that you folks have been able to go on our site and to see our guest button and see her work. It's just beautiful work, very, very varied. I mean, she's so talented in all of the genres of work, from portraiture to wedding to still life, floral photography. And, and I'm scanning through her selection of images that she sent us to publish on our site. And surprise, surprise, Kari, my favorite is the black and white of the gentleman with the cigarette.
No, thank you.
Just beautiful work. So, Kari.
Yes.
Western Michigan and Granville, I understand.
Yes, Granville is a suburb of Grand Rapids. Most people know of the bigger city, Grand Rapids.
Right.
And Granville is a suburb, and that's where my studio is located. It's about 10 minutes outside of downtown. So.
Oh, okay. So, are you anywhere near the lake?
About 40 minutes drive to the lake.
Do you do any lake photography?
Yeah, quite a bit. So that's a popular destination, of course, for families and high school seniors and an occasional wedding. So I photograph out on the lake shore quite often.
Okay. And I see some images of yours that look like they're urban, a wedding couple, bridal couple that might have been downtown Grand Rapids, possibly.
Grand Rapids, yep, exactly. Yep. Photograph a lot of downtown weddings. That seems to be a popular spot for weddings. There's a hotel downtown that everybody loves to use. So
okay. How big is Grand Rapids?
I think the city itself, maybe about 500,000 population.
Oh, that many?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
It's the second largest city in Michigan, the first largest being Detroit.
Goodness.
Second largest city in Michigan. Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned that you did a lot of weddings or do a lot of weddings in Grand Rapids and probably, of course, I'm sure in Granville. You just started doing weddings recently?
Yeah, last year.
I'm saying that. I'm saying that tongue in cheek.
Yes, I just realized that this year is the 20th year that I've been photographing weddings. So call that determination or call that crazy. You make the decision on what that one is.
I call it crazy, but good for you.
I feel like photographers either love it or hate it. You get the people who thrive off the energy and the excitement on a wedding day, and you get the photographers who say you cannot pay me enough for that amount of pressure and stress and high anxiety that day.
Well, for me it was always the wedding day was the most exciting part of it. I didn't like dealing with the pictures afterwards and putting the albums together. So that was the part. But that day was so exciting, I thought. So
well, and I'm sure Kari, and I know Jeff knows this, that as wedding photographers, we weren't just the photographer that day. We were the psychologists. We were the referee sometimes.
The babysitter. The floral arrangement.
But you know what's interesting? There was a photographer back in the day that said something that really struck home for me. And he said that wedding photography is such a great, Victor Avila was his name. Wedding photography was such a good teaching environment for a photographer because you're doing so many types of photography. You're doing obviously the wedding photography, you're doing portrait photography, you're doing architectural photography. With the scene setters, you're doing commercial photography, and now what we're calling reportage. So my hat's off to you. I know Jeff has done quite a few weddings. What did you come up with the count, Jeff?
Oh, my last count after all those years was over 1,500.
Yeah.
Wow.
It hurts my back just to say it.
Yeah, and I'm at 1,501.
Yeah.
Yeah, the other thing, Rick, that I think about with wedding photography is you have to be able to problem solve at any given day, at any given time, whether it be scheduling problems, lighting problems, how you're going to accomplish what you need to get accomplished with whatever's thrown at you. And that's crazy. I have a friend who doesn't like new locations. As a portrait photographer, if a client suggests doing something at their home or a different location than what she's ever been at, that always kind of gets her a little worried. Like, I don't know what it's going to be like, and I'm always like, you figure it out when you get there.
Right.
You make it work.
That was the fun.
That's what you do as a wedding photographer. Is it doesn't matter. You've got to find the best light, the best, location to make everything work the way you want it to work. So
yeah, and we're spending a little bit of time visiting about your wedding photography, but you do so much more than that. Some beautiful character studies and landscapes that I'm seeing.
Thank you.
Beautiful still lifes and florals, and I think that's where we're going to benefit tonight, is because you have that varied background of what you're doing. Would you like to visit a little bit more about what the other things that you're doing?
So I always say I photograph people for my job, and landscapes is my love and my hobby. So I years ago, and I don't know if a lot of the speakers are still saying this, but years ago, everybody was saying, you got to have a niche. You got to be the baby photographer, and that's all you do. Or you've got to be the wedding photographer, and that's all you do. You got to specialize in something that your clients will go to. And that never sat right with me, because I love it all. I love photographing babies. I love photographing high school seniors. I love photographing weddings, families, even business headshots. And so what I've come up with is I love my clients and getting to know them over the years for all their different avenues. I love it when a client comes back to me who, I photographed the wedding, and then the mom of the bride wants an extended family portrait, and then her little brother needs senior portraits, and then the bride has a baby, and now we're doing baby pictures, and that turns into family pictures, and it just, continues on. And I just love seeing them over and over again over the years. So that's kind of my business model, is taking care of my clients, and you get to really know them and you photograph them many times throughout the years for different things. And then I absolutely love to travel. When I was a kid, we did not go anywhere, and I was always jealous of anybody who got to travel. And so as soon as I was old enough to go anywhere on my own, and of course the beautiful landscapes turned into a love of photographing them, and I always say, I can go out on a week-long photography trip out in the mountains in Colorado, what you guys have in your backyard. But, and I don't care if I don't even get a competition image or anything. Of course, that's a goal. I want something that's beautiful, but being there at sunrise in that moment, that feeling is all worth it, and maybe the clouds didn't work out right that day, and the something is too windy and there's ripples in the water, and whatever the case may be, and you don't get that perfect image that you were dreaming of. It's just the joy of being out there and doing it is what I love. And I don't even look back at half the pictures I take on
Right.
on all the trips. So I love to travel. I love to photograph, all that stuff for me for fun, and just being out there and doing it.
Well, I'll tell you what, one of the reasons that you are here, or that we invited you to be here, is because Jeff and I so appreciate your passion and enthusiasm. And I think our guests tonight, on the participants on the show tonight, should be able to see that quite easily. So we're really happy to have you here, and we're looking forward to your comments, and we're looking forward to some wonderful images, because we see them every month, and it's such a treat for me. I don't want to speak for Jeff, but I would guess he feels that this is a wonderful opportunity for us to come together, and all of us to learn and improve, because I know I learn something every month that we have this show. So Kari, thank you so much for being here. Jeffy, think we should start the show?
Yeah, we probably should. We got a good house here, a good full house. We got a bunch of images to look at, and we got a lot of conversation. So I'm going to go ahead and steal the screen back here, and we'll get started. So let's go ahead, and what we're going to do is I'm just going to bring up an image here, and so Rick knows this, but Kari, in your Zoom window, you have the at the top there is the let's see where to go.
Options.
Annotate is the word. You're at the
bottom left is the annotate. Bottom left, annotate.
And you bring that screen down, and there'll be over on the left the word text, and then draw. So if you click on draw, it gives you some choice of, and then you can go and draw, and you can change the color and such. So when you go to talk, if there's something to highlight, you want to make a point you want to make about the image, do that. That's our viewers love that, because obviously we're recording this, and they can go back and look at to really emphasize what you're saying. These little fancy little things, tic-tac-toe games we play is great. So let's start with this. This one's called Midair Flight. Okay. You want to start off, Kari?
Yeah, fabulous image. Great subject matter. One of the 12 elements. We've got great subject matter. The interaction between the two birds gives us a story here. So we've got some good storytelling going on. And I'm going to see, is there a way, Jeff, that you can fill the screen a little bit more with the image, or no? I feel like it's a little bit smaller on my screen.
Same here.
Yeah, there we go. That's a little bit better. And I'm assuming some of the Zoom quality, we've got like the background has a little bit of the pixelizing. I'm thinking that's a Zoom
you
quality.
Might get that, yeah.
Okay, so I won't comment on that. So so as far as things that I see that could be improved, I think a little bit faster shutter speed might have helped this image a little bit. I don't mind wing movement or the blur on the wings, because I know this is an incredibly hard image to achieve itself. I always say you don't know how hard something is until you go out and try it. I've never photographed hummingbirds before, but I have done a couple bird expeditions, and birds in flight are incredibly hard to you got that zoom lens, and you can hardly move it as fast as the birds are moving. So I would say slightly faster shutter speed might have helped this image a little bit. I look at the brown section that's over on the top left-hand corner, and I almost wonder if that were toned more in the greens, it wouldn't draw my eye away, because right now what happens is I look at the birds, and all of a sudden I look up to that upper Oh, I can use my draw tool here.
Yeah. Yeah. Use your little tool.
This section here.
Perfect.
So, you know, just that section, if it were, you know, toned down a little bit in the greener tones, it wouldn't draw my eye away because everything else in the background has greener tones. Or if there were a little bit more brown throughout the image, I see a little bit, but that bigger chunk right there. I like the smoothness of the background. The presentation is nice with the thin border around the outside edge. I'm not sure if there's a thicker border outside the thin border, but you know, I don't mind it the way it is. And I think those are my comments. You guys got anything to add?
Yeah, what do you say, Ricky? Right up your alley.
That was well covered.
Right, no kidding.
Several of the points that Kari made, you know, there's no sense in repeating. But you made a good point, you know, as far as the top left corner, and some of these things that just are little, just tiny details right down here in the bottom left corner. I know it's, you know, the tonal value is just a 3/4 of a stop or whatever from everything in this area, but just to tone that down and maybe around here just to keep focus. But you know, when we're talking about these kind of details, we're talking about an image that can soar, pardon the pun, as opposed to just staying in the lower categories. But really well done, man. Those birds are sharp.
Yeah, nothing more I can add. The only thing, you know, I think probably talking about the background is maybe in the area here, it's a little bit of the brightness of that green, and those can be toned back just a little bit to let the birds stand out more. And again, folks, just so you know, the word picky comes to mind, I'm sure, but it's not about that. It's fine tuning. It's the little things, especially if we're talking about PPA competition. When an image scores really high, it's all these little things we're talking about are handled. Yeah, some of them are personal preference by a juror, but little things like that jump out and we'll just keep it from scoring. And I'll talk in points because that's how we did it for years. But that's why, not to make it sound like we're being real nitpicky, but it's these little tiny things like this that will take your image higher and higher and higher if you address them. So take that in mind as we're going along. Good work.
Yeah, Jeff, can I make another comment?
Yeah, please.
When you guys do your state and local competitions, are you still using a number scoring system?
We are, we sure
are.
So
these little numbers, those are just little numbers that are going to add up and get those scores a little bit higher that are going to get your overall score for the competition, you know, to do well. And then the same thing now, you know, when we have merit image review, it might be the difference between a merit and an image excellence, or right. If it's something that you're thinking of entering on in the IPC head-to-head competition, taking care of those tiny little details, it might make your image win out over top of the other image against an IPC. So
that is true. Good call.
Good point.
Right. I'm gonna move along here if I can do that. So we have, oh, come on. Well, it won't let me go back to Photoshop. Oh, yeah, I had this problem last time. As I go to the software, I'm in there, but it won't let me draw it up until I get rid of the darn pen. So hold on just a sec here. There we go. All right. Vanish. Size wise, you guys okay with that? Does that need to be larger?
Just a little bit bigger would be helpful.
Yeah, if you could, yeah.
Thank you. Yes.
Well, like that. How's that?
Yeah.
We don't want to lose too much of the mat in there, but all right. So this is Vanish.
All right, Vanish. I like the title. Interesting subject matter. When I think of Vanish, I think of the vanishing horizon line. If that's what we're supposed to see, that's great. We've got some great detail, great clarity. I like the slow shutter speed with the water that we have here. And I think overall, well done. Again, I'm going to point out almost the exact same thing that we had on the last time. We've got this bright area here over, you know, in this left-hand side here. And to me, that's a little bit bright because my eye wants to go back and
hang on, sorry, no.
That's all right. My eye wants to look, you know, we want to be focused on here. And then with the title, we've got There we go. Got your 3 little dots there. With the title,
Yeah,
we've got
sorry.
the vanishing horizon line, which I appreciate. And, you know, even a little bit here where we've got this lighter edge touching here, you know, everything's dark around here, dark around here. We've got such a light edge right in this spot, and then up in this spot that kind of draws your eye away from the main subject, which should be this the center point there. I'm pointing with my mouse like you can see my mouse, but you can't.
Yeah, I can't see your mouse. Yeah, don't be afraid to afraid to draw on it, so that
right.
so the maker can look at these in the recording and look at what you're talking about. So
Yeah, that's the advantage for that. Man, I really enjoy this image. And there are a lot of things going for it. Some of the concerns that Kari had, I totally agree. My suggestion would be to do a side-by-side. Take this image just as it is, duplicate it, and flip it horizontally. Because what I'm seeing, you know, is this diagonal is so strong. If we flipped it, that diagonal would be leading us into the image. Beautiful contrast of tonality, you know, the blacks and the whites and grays, just a great tonal value. Jeffy, can you take it down just a little bit smaller? Because it looks like there's more matte on the bottom than there is on the top.
yeah, that's the issue here with
or is it equal center?
I cannot get this to switch. Once I get out in Zoom, it will not let me switch back here. Oh, come on. This is not happening here.
That's okay. And
there
it is.
Oh yeah, okay.
There's your fold. Yeah, so the mat's
great.
All the way around. Right.
Great. And I really enjoy the square presentation. Nice shot. But comments well made. I agree with Kari.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can't get back to Zoom here with our sorry about that. There's nothing more I can add. It's absolutely beautiful tonal range throughout. We haven't lost, you know, any light tones without losing anything. The stepping stones, the piece of wood there really just stand out. You know, and I'm looking at what you're talking about, Rick, with the angle here of leading us in from left to right. I don't disagree with that, but I kind of like how it's also taking us from here and leading us this way. So I think it's kind of a coin toss in this case for this particular image. I know sometimes we want to have that other lead in, but I don't know. I'm right on the fence with it, so I like it the way it is. So.
All right, Jeff, call it heads or tails. I'm flipping.
Tails.
Tails. Darn it.
Yeah, I figured. There's no way I was going to win that one. All right, let's see if I can get rid of this image and find us another one here. All right, so we got to get with Tranquility. And let me clear the oh, come on. Let me clear the junk off the screen here. Yeah, see, when I hang on, when I try and go back to Zoom, there we go.
I cleared my own.
Thank you, ma'am.
I can probably clear mine too.
Well, I can get all of it here, but okay.
Oh, there we go.
All right, so I'll go ahead and jump into this one just because I haven't said much yet. Tranquility. What an absolutely beautiful theme. The story that's being told here with this title, Tranquility. Because I mean, that's what you feel. You can see yourself standing there on the edge of the pond. The trees lead in nicely. The softness of the of the fog, the hazy morning, and then we have our one little subject here, our little guy out here in the middle of the water is just really attracting attention. But yet it allows us to wander through the scene, come up and look through the trees. Even this nice curve of the little bit of land here. The horizon line is so soft and nice, soft lines of the trees in the background, but it creates this, just enough depth in the scene to give us, and yet we keep coming right back to our lovely little subject matter. The only thing the black key line, again, I'm being real picky. I might have personally cut that in half in terms of thickness. Minor thing. I love the the gray mat, but maybe if this was even just a little thinner, minor thing, or maybe even more in the tone of the darkest part of the tree. Just a thought. Kari, what do you think?
Yeah, I was going to suggest that too. The tone out of the darker area of the tree is not that solid black. And because we don't have anything in the image that is 100% black, zero on your info palette, that border tends to look just a little bit too harsh to me, too bold to me. So sorry, talking to the image and it went away. Another thing that I noticed, we'll wait till it comes back here.
I swear to God.
There it is. Down in the bottom right hand corner, I noticed there's throughout the lake or the water here, we do have little swampy stuff. You know, we've got the little black flecks, but for some reason down in this right hand corner to me, let me get my little drawing pad. Oh, there.
I didn't do that.
Did I do that?
No, you can't. I don't know
I
why.
can't do that. Anyway, down in this
that.
little corner down here, where we have these white dots and these dots in here, to me, when I first saw it, I thought it was sensor dust. And so I would be careful with that.
I'm sorry, guys. I don't know what's happening here. It's doing this all by itself right now. Oh, for crying out loud. Come on.
That's all right.
Well, it only does it when we have a program. It's like I have to I have to close this annotation to get it to come back. Okay. All right. I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Kari.
That's okay. That's all right. So anyway, down in that bottom right hand corner down there, this area, to me, those little dots in the water almost looks like sensor dust. And throughout here, I can see it's not sensor dust because it's throughout the water. But just down here, you don't want a judge to call you out on that. And sometimes we think we know what we're talking about, but we really don't. And then the maker's sitting there going, "That's stuff in the water. Why can't you see that?"
Yeah.
So we're always guilty of calling out stuff we think we see that's not really true. So I would be careful with that. Maybe clone out a few of those, and make them a little bit less noticeable.
A couple things I'll just add to that little conversation. And this is the game that Rick and I play when we enter images. We'll send our stuff back and forth. Now, I probably feel like I go overboard and get it all prepared, and I send it to Rick to get feedback. Do you see anything I've missed? And in my mind, I'm thinking I got it nailed, right? And then he sends me back a punch list about this long, but it's these little things. And the best trick ever is to flip your image upside down.
Yeah.
And it takes your mind away from seeing it like you would naturally see an image. It makes you for a second look at other things, and you'll pick up those little things, and then obviously ask yourself, is this helping my image or not? And it'll just kind of give you, so just flip your image upside down and look around it and see if there's anything like that pulls you away from what you want the judge or the viewers to look at. So
right. Yeah, and I really appreciate what you guys were saying about the key line, and I totally agree. Half the size and a different tonal value. The bottom right corner that Kari brought up, good point. I'm just wondering, what are your thoughts, guys? Kari, Jeffy, about the matte color? Is it okay for you? Should it be broken up just a little bit? And by that I mean just a slight texture or overlay, or because we see a lot of flat colored mats. Are they helping or hurting? Just your thoughts.
Kari, go ahead.
I'm torn on texture mats. You have to be really careful with texture mats. Some of them look beautiful and amazing. Some of them can look overpowering and busy. So if you do decide to go with something with a texture on it, I would almost think make it be very subtle, so that it's not overpowering the image. It's not drawing your eye away from the image. The other thing I wondered about is what about picking the lightest color in the image? I dropped my pen here, so let me grab my pen a second.
Like grabbing this, like the sky you're talking about.
Yeah, grabbing the lightest part of the sky here. So, maybe something from this tonality, or even, I'm not sure, this might be a little bit darker, but I would say even a lighter tonality, and then a light gray key line on there, something along that lines might help it, make it look a little bit more fine art presentation than the gray border.
Yeah.
Well, I can say,
go ahead, Jeffy.
I was going to say is that two things real quick come to mind is simple and subtle for your mats and your key lines is always the smart way to go in PPA competition. And the other thing is no matter what you do, one of the 5 judges is going to tell you could have done it differently. Just know that. So
yeah, I always say that the mat should be kind of like a little black dress, it's something that's you don't really notice as a standout, but just, kind of there, and it doesn't hurt the image and it doesn't help the image. It's just it just kind of blends in and makes a nice little wrapper on it.
Well, the only problem with that is every time Rick wears his little black dress, I always tell him he stands out too much. We got to move along. Next image.
All right.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so we have now the dance. And let me clear. Okay, so
beautiful.
The dance. Kari, what do you think?
Yeah, stunning. Absolutely stunning. Look at that sharpness. Look at the highlights, crispness. Subject matter stands right out. The only complaint I have is the grasses in the front bother me a little bit, distracting, but I don't know how you'd get rid of it. So I don't even want to go there. The border color is pleasant, and composition's gorgeous. I'm having a hard time finding much to talk about. The only thing if we get down to nitty gritty, this is a little bit of a light spot in the background, but maybe couple light spots if you can just kind of tone down those a little bit, but yeah, right, but not much. This is beautiful. Right.
Yeah, I agree. And then those dead grass stalks, that's a tough one because they're there. You don't want to get in there and remove them and to soften them up. It's possible, but I don't think anybody wants to spend that kind of time on it.
No.
But yeah, everything about great interaction between the two birds. Good story, good title. Anything else, Rick, you want to add?
Just one thing, composition. I love it. Anyone who's ever listened to me, I've brought it up a time or two about what I call diagonally opposed composition, where you have the different elements obviously diagonally opposite of each other, and that's a very, very strong composition. And in my opinion, that was handled extremely well, as well as color palette of the whole presentation. Well done.
Very cool. All right. Let me see if I can handle this properly.
Woohoo, you're getting it.
The thing is sad about it is that I got it before we all got online. It was working great. All right.
Always does.
On the move. Oh, see, now it's not letting me in. I'm in the software. I am in Photoshop, and it's not letting me do it. Why won't it let me get out of here? I got to always close.
You talk too soon.
I know, right? Photoshop. Double click. There.
There you go.
On the move.
On the move.
Well, hair larger here, so we get it good, Matt.
All right. So first of all, great title. We've got a good storytelling title with this bison on the move, getting out there, telling the story. I like the placement of the bison on the lower third, kind of that quadrant idea. The couple things to me that's holding me back in my mind from this image scoring really high is the busyness that's all right. The busyness of this little guy right here in the background, kind of, getting into him, and this one right here. I know they're, they were there, part of the scene. It might be too much to clone out for this image. When I'm in a scene like this, ideally it would be nice to isolate that buffalo a little bit. And then the other thing that I think of is we've got such muted color tones in the bottom half of this image and such a bright sky and cloud. And to me, they're two different images to be handled into one. So I would almost, you know, almost think about maybe cropping that sky out. I know it was really cool and it's a dramatic part of the image, but then I'm looking at what is the subject of the image? Is it the buffalo? Is it the sky? I don't know. You know, and so I don't know what this would look like with a, you know, crop across here, just taking that. Ooh, there we go. I'm like, wait a minute, am I cropping it? Taking that cloud out of there. You know, we love to see those dramatic clouds, but to me, it's competing right now with the subject matter.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. Beautiful clouds, beautiful buffalo, but they aren't allowing one to stand out from the other. And that's what's hard in competition, because that's what the judges see. So yeah, so either do that or crop the cloud and enter the cloud, either way. The other thing I see a little bit of deep shadow here, so we've lost detail in the shadows on the bison itself, which I think could be solved a little bit. And the other thing too, that, and this is, I know, hard to hear, it's always hard for me to hear, sometimes you get an image that there's things like this, like you're talking about the other guys in the background, and do we remove it, do we not? Sometimes you have to kind of look at it as it, maybe I don't enter this image, you know. Sometimes it comes down to that kind of an aspect, that this is good, but there's so many other elements that are working against it. Because I see the horizon line going through the animal, which pulls attention, it flattens it out. And these trees are cool, but they're asking for as much attention almost, even without that cloud back there. Rick, anything else you want to add?
You guys covered it. You really did.
Yeah, I have one little thing to add about that when we talk about picking a different image, maybe for competition. I always say to people, don't wait to enter competition until you feel like you have something that you are, you know, pretty sure is going to merit. We all want everything to merit, but to me, everybody should enter no matter where they're at. Pick your top 4. And if this is a top 4, by all means, move forward with this image. If it's not a top 4, if you think you've got something better, then work towards something better, you know, or something different. But I always hesitate to tell people, you know, an image isn't competition worthy, because every image is competition worthy at some point in your journey, right? So pick something that is in your top images to move forward with, and go from there.
Absolutely. And then, because you've got 5 different opinions,
right,
when you enter it in the competition, and it might sail, it might sing. A couple of things I'll throw in is the matte choice. Black in this case is kind of asking for attention, and anytime you do that key line, I think it's better closer, because you've almost divided the matte in half, which is now asking for attention. So if this key line was maybe even halfway between the distance, halfway to the goal there, I think it would be a little more subtle and not ask for attention. Minor thing. All right. See if I can get rid of this and go to another image, and see if I can go to Photoshop by itself and actually pull up. Just not gonna let me do it without getting rid of this here. We have Muscle Madness. Kari, what do you think?
Yeah, first of all, fun image, great story, Muscle Madness, muscle car out on the racetrack. Looks like we have a nice horizontal line on the top. I was looking, part of me almost wondered if it was a little bit tipped where the back end is down, but I think that might be just the curve of the track. As far as composition goes, I think I would have liked to have seen a little bit more room in the front of the car through here. So we know this car is moving fast and it needs a little bit more room of where it needs to go. Right there. Oh, no, I got 2 arrows.
Well, that's okay. I discovered what I have to do there. Sorry.
it's a little bit too centered for me. I think I would have rather seen, I'm not sure, the maker might have made the best choice on the crop here, depending on what was up above. You don't want to get too busy with stands and other things on the other side. So if that's the case, then the top line is good. But if there's more room up above, just to kind of give it a little bit more top room and definitely some more front room, I think would have helped this image a little bit. But overall, nice image. I like the pan effect.
Rick?
Yeah, I agree. I guess it could be argued a couple different ways that, the full composition or placement of the car and its proximity to the left side creates tension. So, that argument could be made. But I'm tending to agree that if we had, a third more in front of it and a nice slim panel like we have, would add a little bit more drama to it. I guess my concern was, the highlight areas that are just a little bit blown out. If we could come in and do something with those, but gosh, man, I'd love to have that car.
Yeah, no kidding. I don't know what you could do though, honestly, Ricky, with this this is a very highly polished glossy surface paint. You got a bright sky above it. I don't know that you could really artificially add some color, I guess, to it, but I'm not sensing a bright sky. I'm sensing an overcast, but I mean bright enough that hard to say. Yeah, and I agree with that. And you could easily extend this canvas. And I'm not talking AI because that's swear words now in PPA competition. But you could extend this canvas up front and stretch this out just a little bit. And I kind of agree with that too, that just a little bit more room might give us a little bit more action there. So.
And, we talk about the things that we can do in Photoshop, et cetera, stretching the canvas, blah, blah, blah. Let's look at the file. Maybe there's more room ahead of it, so we don't have to do that.
Or even that too, yeah. Very cool. All right. Let's see. Let's go with Mr. and Mrs. Barbet, unless I'm pronouncing the bird incorrectly. But this is what I'm saying. This is cool.
Mr. and Mrs. Barbet.
I'm sticking to it. Kari, what do you think?
Oh, fun image, colorful. I like the long skinny crop. The presentation on it is nice. I think it lends to what we have in front of us here. I'm not 100% sold on the title. Maybe because Barbet is the type of bird it is, but I don't know my birds. So as a judge, when I hear that, it's a little bit confusing for me. So I would maybe come up with a title that talks about the relationship between these two birds. Something about a couple fighting. The one bird looks kind of mad. They're turning their back to each other. I don't know. So a little bit different title on it. The image, as far as the image goes, I wish it had just a little bit greater depth of field where we didn't lose focus on this left-hand branch. I love all the detail on here. This is beautiful. The detail on the birds' faces, their eyes are sharp, their beaks are sharp. Fantastic. It does bother me a little bit that this has gone off focus. As far as this image is concerned, that's not anything that we can change there. I'm just thinking for the maker going forward when they're working on these types of images. Retouching, I would retouch the little hairs that are sticking out of this bird just to clean it up a little bit. I like the tonality of the background. Again, the same things we've been talking about here with a couple little hot spots. These aren't, I don't know why I didn't make a complete circle there. They're not horrible, but they are a little bit brighter in these areas. I would watch, maybe it's a zoom thing, but I have a little bit of a hard line kind of showing up right here. So check the file and make sure that line gets blended together a little bit through there. But fun. I would like to see a little bit more storytelling with the title.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think that because you saw I even had problems pronouncing the name because I didn't know what kind of bird that name is. So even just calling it Mr. and Mrs. Smith or something like that kind of takes a little bit of a story there. or going the direction that Kari mentioned might be even a little bit more exciting. Not much more I could say. The black matte, I don't mind the black, maybe thinner, maybe less matte. Or maybe even taking it into a darker tone, like up in here or back in here. So it's more, it blends, if you will, with the image more. So it's not less, again, the black's not bad, but it's just a little bit much. So either a darker gray green or cut this in half maybe. And I would even take the key line that looks like about a 15, 18 pixel key line. I'd take that, cut it in half, 8 or 9 pixels would be plenty big. Rick, anything to
add? You guys have covered it very well. Just let's just talk again for a second about the titles. I think it's really important because it's going to put a visual in the judge's mind or in his or her head. So I think it's important to a degree. And, we can talk about the psychology of titles all night, but and who agrees and who doesn't. But when it comes to the titles, we hear a lot as judges, foreign language titles, long titles, something, where we don't understand, in this case, the birds. Okay, is that the name of these birds or whatever? I guess where I'm going with this is that a lot of people give judges credit for a level of intelligence that we don't.
Right.
So make it simple as far as the title is, I guess, is where I'm going with it.
Well, this is an advertising thing. This is what my dad always said to me. Think about advertising. You can take one line and create you talk about just anything that you can think about, just do it, or just slogans like that the whole campaign. So it's kind of that same premise. That's in my mind, like Mr. and Mrs. Smith or Mr. and Mrs. Jones. It doesn't have to necessarily be a specific story, but who are they? But what we already know, a story of that kind of a thing. That's what we're trying to do, is we don't want to make the judges have to think. It's a no. We want to capture their attention. What's that, Kari?
Yeah, I was going to say, as a judge, I've had titles that are references to things like Greek mythology, whereas the maker thought everybody's familiar with Greek mythology, right? And I had no clue what the reference was because I'm not familiar with Greek mythology, or something similar. In Michigan, we have a lot of Native American names for things, and they're hard to pronounce if you're not from here and you don't know that common name of something. For somebody local, they would know it, but you get outside the local area and they sound like a foreign language. And so just be careful with that kind of stuff.
All right, moving along here. Well, look at that. I did it right. Let's go with Morning Amongst the Volcano. Oh, geez. Titles are even better when the guy can read them. Morning Amongst the Volcanoes.
Yeah, wow. What a beautiful,
powerful, huh?
Fun scene.
Let me just go a hair larger for you, like there. And then I'm going to go back here and get the annotate tool so you can do that. Okay.
Yeah, I am enjoying the scene before me. I'm enjoying the aerial view. I don't know if it's necessarily aerial because we've got the flowers in the foreground. So I kind of like that leading composition of those flowers leading into there. The couple things that I think of when I look at this image, the first thing is it seems to have an overall magenta tone to it. So I'm not sure why that is. I know it's a morning, but mornings aren't usually magenta. They're usually a little bit more orange. So I would take a look at the toning of this image. And then the other thing is it's got a lot of muted blacks. I'm having a hard time finding something that's not that muted looking, and maybe that's just the atmospheric haze or the distance there. We've got a little bit of lines coming around the bottom of these clouds that I'm worried about. I'm drawing with my mouse. You guys can't see my mouse here. Right around these bottoms of the clouds, and I'm seeing these, kind of these chunky little lines. I almost think maybe the processing on those was a little bit too much as far as sharpening or bumping up the texture, or something like that in those images. I'd be careful around the edges. Sometimes what I'll do on an image in Photoshop is if I'm, adding in texture and things like that to really give it that dynamic look to it, I soften off a few of those edges, erasing the effect off those images, just so you don't get such a crispy, chunky, jaggedy edge line. The one more thing here is this little thing is an eye trap. I would almost maybe want to clone that little orange white spot out of there, just because it's a little bit distracting up there.
Rick, anything to add?
Well covered. Maybe one or two things. I really enjoy the natural vignetting of the foliage in the foreground, whether or not it was toned down or burned in. Just seems a little heavy here. And if not, that's okay, but we can bring that back just a little bit. But other than that, I feel it's been covered.
The only other thing I'll add to it, and again, it sounds like I'm being a little picky. So when we start darkening our skies, we get things, and if you look at the mountain, there's a very faint white outline, very faint. And again, that could be my screen, but I'm also seeing the center of the mountain is lighter, and you've got this dark kind of a vignette feeling of the edge of the mountain inside of the edge there. That's supposed to be an arrow. So it's just really kind of minor, but with that cyan blue color that is added to it, it doesn't look as natural. And I know that's just something I see, I've learned to see in landscape stuff. So even if that was toned down to more of a gray, that little bit of a shadowing of the edge there coming in, and it's very faint, but it's there. And I know there's other judges that will see that too, because I've heard it. So anyways, all right. Well, by the time we're all done, I'll have this licked. Yeah. We're gonna go here with
now.
This is funny. Me, not in front of the other kids. Oh my goodness. We do not have a rating on our program, just so you all know. So
I was trying to drag the corner out and I drew a line.
Let me
isn't that funny?
Let me open annotate again. There we go. Let me open it. Yeah, you were trying to make it
I was trying to make it larger.
All right, let's see, I can still do that here, I think. What that's a new thing I've been able to do. There we go.
Yeah, there we go.
Back the whole image. No, there's no mat on this one. So
yeah.
Now back to annotate, so you can annotate. Okay.
All right. First of all, love the storytelling. Again, this is what we're talking about with the title, right? Something that's going to make the judges laugh a little bit with the reference that we have going on here and the scene that we have in front of us. So fantastic. And what a great opportunity to see these animals out in the wild. This is not an easy thing to find, an easy thing to see, and to come across a scene like this. Kudos to the photographer. As far as competition goes, I'm having a hard time with a contrasty light with it. We've got a time of day that's just not super flattering. We've got the harsh shadows from the sun shining on here. The rocks are pretty bright. That might be able to be evened out a little bit with some, toning down the highlights and upping the shadows and burning down the rocks a little bit, and see if that gets you a little bit closer to where we want to be with that. And I wish I could see a little bit more of the faces on the ones whose backs are turned to us. but again, we can't control nature. And again, that might be a case of, choosing something different, that's a little bit more, where you can see faces or a different scene.
Well said. I don't know if I can add any more to it. I do the composition. I may be coming up on the bottom a little bit, might just give us a little more attention, even cropping a little bit more, just to do something a little bit more unique to it. But yeah, sometimes it comes down to interesting image, interesting concept, but that midday light works against us so often that we have to kind of decide maybe this isn't best for competition. Rick, anything else?
Just the presentation that you mentioned with no mat.
Yeah,
that would help it. But is it an image that we think we can take it into the higher levels? Very doubtful, in my opinion. Oh, am I going to get some emails?
So not to give anything away, but the Mary is the mat is really dark green, so there is a mat on here, or is this Mary? If you want to turn on your microphone and chat with us, you certainly may. Or not, she's probably off watching a movie. Just kidding.
It's mine. This is Tina. And there's no mat. I didn't know anything about doing mats, so.
No, that's okay. And we can certainly help you with that another time, but it's a requirement of an image entered into a PPA competition. That's why we've been mentioning it sometimes. So, but again, in this case, what we're trying to do is more about helping you with the image itself. So.
Cool. Okay.
Okay. Cool. Just let me move along here with the next one. We are now into lunch is served. There's a great title right there.
Yeah.
So it's got a dark gray mat on it, but I'm going to enlarge it so you can see the image itself a little more. Kari, you want to jump in?
Yeah, fun title, fun story, fun image. I like the.
Oh, for crying out loud. I'm so sorry.
I like what we've got going on with all of the above. Couple things.
It goes through these stages that I can't get it to cooperate. So there we go. Still not in Zoom. But it's still not in Zoom, so we can't use the tool. That's what there.
Here we go. Yeah, so I really enjoy this image. I enjoy the fur, the crispness of the fur. We've got detail in the snow. A couple little things I'll be cautious again is these edges are a little bit sharp here. Maybe back off the texture on those little chunky edges right in those areas there that I've circled. It's okay that we see a line, but I think the amount of texture that we brought back to the image, starts to be a little bit too much in those areas. So that's where I would do it on a mask and just take some of that off. As far as the presentation goes, the brown key line here is a little bit too thick for me. I'd like to see that thinned out. I'm not sure about the brown color. Maybe pick something more in the grayer tones from his fur, something that's not quite so bold as to, again, we don't want to draw our eye away from the image. And what happens when I see this brown up here against this white is my eye goes right to that border. Another thing is when you're putting a stroke around your image, it's always helpful to put it on the inside instead of the outside, so we don't have the little rounding on the corners here. So we have a square edge on the corners. I'm drawing there, drawing with my mouse, like
Yeah.
you can see my mouse
there you
again.
go.
You know, we've got that little bit of rounding right on that corner. And if you, when you're adding your stroke in Photoshop, if you click it to add it to the inside of your selection, it will make a nice square corner for you. So that's something I would do with that. I'm not 100% sure, but another thing I would really check is to make sure that there's no color tones in the snow. I tend to be a little bit picky about that. You guys are from an area that you see snow in. A lot of judges are not from an area that sees snow, but to me, it's really common to get blue tones in your snow. And so a lot of times what I'll do personally in my competition images is desaturate just the blue tones out of the snow so that we don't have blue toned snow, because we all know that in reality snow is white. I know sometimes it reflects a little bit of the blue sky, but I like to see some nice white snow. I'm not sure if this is the zoom on here, but I am seeing a little bit of yellow throughout here. So if it is on zoom, you can ignore it. Otherwise, the other thing I would watch is that yellow. I'm seeing it a little bit right along here and a little bit right in here, maybe. So I would watch those yellow tones that are popping through in that snow too.
I'm seeing some.
Oh yeah, I see it up there too.
Well. Yeah.
Yeah, where you're circling. So
of course, that may just be where the wolf was first. He just may have stopped there along the way.
Yeah, chime in. See what
don't eat the yellow snow.
Yeah, and I'm also seeing that little bit of too much sharpening going on here, right on this edge here. Where that edge of that snow is a little bit too sharp looking.
Comment from the as we call you, the peanut gallery. Jamie asks, Rick, I noticed you were covering your eye. What are you looking for when you're doing this?
Oh, I was doing a hand crop, and my thought was, let me get this thing going here. You know, the wolf is almost center, bullseye composition. And I don't know, I was just kind of thinking what it would look like if we took off a little bit from the right.
Yeah, I agree.
Good idea. Yeah.
But you guys made some really great comments, and as far as the key line and the rounded corner, that's again what we're talking about, where if a key line is broad as opposed to a narrower, we would see that rounding less on a narrower than we would on a broad key line. So, you know, just to kind of keep the key lines a little narrower.
Yeah, I think the key line is important, but it shouldn't ask for attention. And I look at this, I would almost suggest taking the matte, like Kari said, first of all, let's get rid of that color tone in the snow, but let's make the matte the same color as the snow. Let it kind of feel like it's out in the middle of a big wilderness. And then a very fine key line, I'm talking like maybe 4 or 5 pixels of a gray, and let this guy be out here in the middle of this cold, looking for, make it the story where he's looking for food and he's like, okay, where is it? I know there's something here. Just little things like that can help tell that story even more. So good stuff. Let's see. Clear the drawing. I gotta go back to that. It's going to disappear on me. There's a routine here that's just not working. Okay. Let's close that one. And now we are at last rays of the evening. Ooh, yeah, look at that. Here, I'll give you a break. I'll jump into this one and you can add from there. First
make
of all,
it bigger. Sorry.
Oh, yeah. No, that's right. Thanks for reminding me here. Yeah. Bring it back into, hold on. How's that?
Yep.
All right. Oh, we got somebody else coming into the show here. I'll admit them. And then let's go to annotate, and we are there. Okay. So, what a beautiful location, beautiful time of day. Love the capture of the sun just kind of breaking through the clouds, coming through, still not in in the program, and it's going to disappear. That is so frustrating. Look at that. Now I'm stuck. Oh, for crying out loud. I don't know why it does it when we're live and it doesn't do it when I'm not. So when this is open, I don't have that control. It is so frustrating. Sorry, guys. Okay. So, and then I want to go back to stop going away. I swear to God, I can't. All right, I guess we'll stay here. But now I don't have the pen tool. Let's hope this worked. Okay, what I was saying, I love this ray of light, just kind of really highlighting the middle of the valley here. Really gives us a place. Since there's not really an obvious focal point in this scene, there's a lot going on, that the way the maker has really played up this light rays coming in has allowed us to have motion, bring us to a point of letting these trees, even the little house in this area in here, there's even it looks like a horse right in here, just kind of be a focal point. We don't always have to have one specific focal point. In this case, we have an area, but it does tell the story. It lets the slope go away from us and still have nice texture and nice movement. It even allows this whole area to have this kind of this cove feeling. All that, even just this little tree down here anchors us to bounce off these trees and come back in to this area. Kari, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with everything that you just said.
Good, we can quit then.
I almost wonder if we could crop off a little bit of the top is unnecessary. I don't know. I don't want to move this to the center too much. So you got to be careful with that. But part of me is wondering if there's a little bit too much on top there. That's
Sure.
Exactly where I was thinking, right around there. The other thing is that I noticed, and this is just probably one of those little slips that the maker didn't realize, but I do see a little fine white line
right here.
Right along this edge here.
I'll fix that.
Yeah, right along that edge.
You're suggesting a crop like right there?
That's a little too, I think that's a little too, I'd go a little higher. Just a little bit. Yeah, maybe not, maybe right at the bottom of that tree. Right, a little lower. That's probably right where you had it. A little lower. I don't want to see that little tangent there. Yeah, right there. I don't know. Maybe not. Sometimes some of that stuff, it sounds good in theory. And then when you actually do it, you think, no, I liked it better the first way. I think I almost do like it better the first way. So never mind that crop comment, but you guys, that's all an opinion too. Neither one is right or wrong, but
right.
A different judge might see that, but yeah.
It's a hard place to crop because where do I cut it?
Yeah, cut into the trees. Exactly.
Yeah.
I think I was wanting a little more, but I didn't like cutting just a little bit of these trees.
Yeah, because then you get this and then you get this.
Yeah. I agree. So I think I liked it better the first way. Yeah, and again, too, this is the little bit of a white line that I was talking about right in there.
Yeah, on the left side there.
Yeah, and that's probably just a little slip in the map making, from that standpoint.
There it is. Rick, anything you want to add?
No, just that white line. That was the first thing I saw.
Me too.
On the left side, and that just really kept me from enjoying, the beauty of the image itself.
That can sink an image real quick, can't it? With little things like that in competition.
Yeah, and one other thing is I see a little white dot right there. Is that on my screen or is that?
I don't know. Let me tell you in a second here. I'm going to clear all the drawings and nope, that was my yellow.
Oh, that was your point when you were pinpointing it. So
maker don't panic.
Jeff put there.
Yeah, maker don't panic. That was my bad. All right, so cool. Let's see. Let's move along here. We still have quite a few images to go. Let's go with Jewel of the Forest. And let me give it a little more of an enlargement here. So we have a very nice faint matte on it. And then let's go to the same time. Oh, I swear to God, you guys, I want to swear. Can I swear? The same exact way I do it last time doesn't work the next time. Oh, well, whatever. Go ahead, Kari. What do you think?
All right. First of all, I like the color range of this, the color tonality. It's all the soft greens and browns, and I think that's very pleasing to the eye. The composition of this being center, I think, works for this image. I'm a little bit concerned about the sharpness of it. I feel like our depth of field. Come back to me.
I'm trying.
Come back to me.
These darn tools, it doesn't.
Isn't it funny when you're talking to an image? We're always taught to talk to the image.
Wow.
When you're talking to an image and it goes away, you just can't. It just like
I know.
the
Yeah.
stop.
Sorry.
It's like I just can't say it anymore.
I'm gonna stop trying to fix it.
So I'm a little concerned about the rather shallow depth of field. I do see we have, the sharp focus on the sections here on some of these petals here, but it's just behind this tip here. The top of the tip here is out of focus, as well as we got the foreground and the background. So to me, this image, I don't know why my pen won't make a complete circle. Anyway, to me, the depth of field on this is just a little bit, it's too shallow for it to score well. As well as, this line here, because we can't see the focus, we can't see the focus on that. It just looks like a, out of focus light trap that my eye keeps going to with that. So
Rick, thoughts?
Yes. Totally agree. Let me get personally, I would take this little stem out. Totally natural part of the image, but we have supportive foliage here, to support the vertical line of the stem and the flower, but either that or tone the heck down out of it. But I don't think it would hurt it to just take it out.
This guy up in front here? You're talking
no, this one right here. I'm going to do it again. Are you seeing my red line?
Yeah, the one on the left you're talking about. Yeah, gotcha. Okay. The only other thing I would add, I think probably the thing that I very much like narrow, shallow depth of field. However, if this would have been sharper, it would have sold it for me, because I don't mind this softness here. I don't mind this softness at all. Again, it's just a style, but I think, to me, I think the focal point could have been the tip of the bud there, the center of it. I don't mind these being soft. Could have been toned down a little bit, like you're talking about, but yeah, I mean, I think it's one of these things that kind of can go either way as far as judges go. This is one of those that I think is kind of more of that throwing the dice kind of a thing when you enter this kind of stuff in competition. So, all right, moving along. We still have a few to go here, so we are going to go with yeah. Not going to let me do it. There's a combination puzzle piece here, and I cannot figure it out. See, now I even have. This one was submitted small. So if I go to, if I go here, it's going to look out of focus. That's 200%, but if you want to ignore that portion of it and talk about all the other things.
Yeah. Is it a full bleed, Jeffy?
Yes, it is. There's no mat.
Okay. Kari.
Okay, Gentry in Chair is the title of this one. I enjoy the color tonality of this with the blues and the golds. It's very rich feeling. It's very, royal feeling. I would almost tie something a little different into the title. Gentry and chair is such a dramatic or a generic title. I'd like to see something a little bit more dramatic with the titling, the princess something, or has her moments, or, time out at prom, or I don't know, something like that, something that gives a little bit of a story to it. As far as the image itself, the first thing that I noticed is the cropping of her feet. I don't know if her feet were in the original image more, but I would say if you have her feet in the original image, I would go back and either leave them in, or I'm not sure if a total, maybe crop at the half chair or part way. We don't want to crop through any joints, so we don't want to crop through her knees. But just seeing that, her little toes kind of there, but not the full toes, to me is a little bit problematic.
Would you have cropped it like this?
I'd be a little careful with her ankle. I would even maybe go just a little bit higher, so it's like sorry, that was a crooked crop. A little bit more mid length, maybe some of the you two can chime in on what your thoughts are in there, but I don't want to see a crop right at the ankle, and I don't want to see a crop right at the knee. So
right.
It would be somewhere in the middle there is where I would look at cropping that. The other thing a couple of things that I noticed is the different color tone in her hand. So we've got the golden bronze tone in her arm, and then it almost looks like there's a line here. Maybe it's a watch line or something like that, but her hand is a little bit different color. And with the wide angle lens, it looks like this was shot with a wide angle lens. Her hand appears very large because it's coming closer to the camera.
Oh, here we go.
Closer than you look at the size of her hand from her wrist to her fingertips in comparison to her face.
Sorry.
And to me, moving forward, this image is still a beautiful image, but to me, that might be holding it back from getting the super high scores. Going forward, you might want to shoot with a lens that is either not quite as wide of an angle, or position the hands in such a way that they're not closer and coming forward to the camera, so that they don't appear so much larger than her face, as far as that is concerned. The vignette to me is a little bit heavy. It might be just the enlargement of how this is, but I can almost see kind of like that dramatic line right there and that dramatic line right there. I would soften that line just a little bit so the transition is a little less heavy with that.
Cool. Good stuff. Rick, anything you want to add?
The photographer is really well versed in lighting.
Yes.
Beautiful rendition of light on the subject's face. Maybe bringing in a kicker, from the back, from both sides, behind the subject, just to give it a little more dimensionality. There's potential for this type of a photograph. I'm not saying this particular one, because in classic portraiture, which I just love, and this is just such a nice example, just in my opinion, falling a little bit short, because the whole course of body is so square and straight into the camera. As I was listening to Kari's comments, I was saying, oh man, how we could put so much fluidity into this image by having her hand, rather than here, bringing it out to the arm of the chair and just creating a really beautiful flowing line. And rather than having her elbow cocked in towards her body, letting it come out just a little bit to create more of a diagonal line up to the face, and maybe just swiveling the whole body, chair, etc., to camera right. And I'm kind of a stickler when it comes to lighting. I call it into the light. I see the lighting coming in from camera right, excuse me. And as I mentioned, her body and even her head is so square into the camera. How about turning her head a little bit to camera left, bringing in the main light from camera left and creating more of a short lighting, I think it would just make this thing really sail. And I'm hoping that there's more on the bottom of the file, because, you know, yeah, we could crop, but I just think that there's so much fluidity if we just allowed more on the bottom of it. So I'm sorry I was long-winded on that, but
that's good, really good stuff. Yeah, nothing more I can add. You guys nailed that one real well. So good stuff. We need to keep moving along here. We have a few images to go here. So let's see. We are at intersection of power. Give us a little more scene. We have a even charcoal mat all the way around it. Kari, what do you think?
Yeah, I like the title with it because it ties into the light posts and the stoplights that we have glowing at night. So I think that's a fun time of night to do some fun dramatic shooting. I'm a little concerned about just how bright the center portion of the building is and how dark the rest of it is. So I don't know if that can be evened out a little bit by taking down the highlights through this section a little bit and bringing up a little bit of the shadows throughout this, just so that we don't have the center spot here so bright in the middle. I think the little edge here is a little bit thick. This inside key line there is a little bit thick for my liking. I would make sure take a Photoshop guide. I think it's pretty straight, but now that I look at it, I'm questioning it. I would make sure this line right here is 100% straight. You know, I don't know if you know how to grab, you grab the edge of the ruler here and drag out in Photoshop, and it will draw that ruler line on there, and then you can make sure that that's 100% straight. But I like the straight lines. I would make sure that one's straight as well as this. Because in architecture photography, that's what we want to make sure is those vertical lines are 100% straight up and down, which they could be. It's a little bit hard to tell without drawing the line out on there. So,
Rick.
Wow.
We can just stop right there. The maker will like that one.
Yeah. I appreciate Kari's comments, and we've spoken about this a few times tonight about why there are 5 judges.
You're going to disagree with me, aren't you?
Only to the point where I think this is artistic. The tonal values are held so well in range. My gosh, you know, and this kind of an exposure at this time of a night, and capturing it so crisply, you know, and when I'm looking at composition, I'm seeing again, you know, me and my diagonals, but so strong, and everything leading us into the photograph.
Lots of
depth, and then the supporting elements that are just there enough. Okay, I'll go with you, Kari, on the key line, maybe, you know, a few pixels narrower. I'm really captivated by this image. So, and I respect your opinions, and, you know.
As I respect yours. That's why there's 5 judges.
That's right.
Thank you.
I think it's all well said, both you guys. And the only thing I can really add to this is I would like to see maybe just a little bit more detail in this tree, just ever so slight, because it is just a dark enough area that it does pull my eye over here, and I kind of go, okay, what's over here? Minor, but a little stuff like that. But did you notice the names of the streets, King and Queen streets? That right there is such creative eye. Yeah. But I think it's been well said. I do like the image a lot. I love the light management here that's allowing us to really see this side of the building first, and then let our eye wander to all the other things you're talking about. I think that comes down not that anybody's right or wrong here. I think it just comes down
Oh, absolutely.
matter of opinion or matter of likes and dislikes and so on.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And maybe the title Intersection of Power is referring to the king and queen. I was thinking power company power, like
no,
power.
no. Yeah, that's what I got. The king.
That's what I was
yeah.
going with.
Thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah. And that's kind of going back to our conversation about titling. What can happen sometimes, it's an extremely clever title, but sometimes it can be missed by 2 or 3 of the judges, and that alone can lose points. I'm not saying this should be retitled, but I'm saying the judges should pay attention. No.
I would be real curious to know what time of night this was taken. But man, this is really something.
Great. All right, moving along, because that's what we do. Let's see, we are down to okay, here we go again, allowing me to.
I think you're missing one. Don't
Oh,
forget
no.
that Fortress of Faith.
Yeah. Fortress of Faith. Let me give it a little kick up. Now you can see, I just point out that I'm going to enlarge it so you can see the image more, but notice the border is, or the mat is not even all the way around, just so you know. Kari, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, good title, Fortress of Faith. With the steeple that we have here, I think the title fits it. I think the color of the border is nice for this image. I would make sure that it's even on all sides. I think, that's not helping that it was a little bit, I think it was closer to the top end of the border, if I remember right. The image wasn't sitting directly centered.
There it is.
Yeah, there's more space on the bottom part of that than the top part of that. So I would make sure that's centered. Again, I think this one comes down to the time of day wasn't the best time of day to capture this image. We've got a lot of harsh lighting from the sun, and so that's creating the shadowing that we see, under the steeple area here. And then we've got the kisses of sunlight on here. Perhaps this would have been a little bit better in the time of day where that lighting was a little bit more even through there. The cropping on it is very interesting because I do like, when we draw the crop lines, down here in our thirds, sorry. This is really bad thirds. We've got key points that are hitting those third markers. So I think the cropping on this was a fun presentation on this.
I like this a lot. A very, very strong, powerful. First of all, the story, of course. Anytime you introduce this kind of a concept of godly religion, anything, you evoke a lot of emotion, good, bad, or indifferent. I always find that to be for me, I have a lot of images like this of churches in different angles. So I commend the maker on that one. And I actually like, this is something that I do in the middle of the day when the landscape light isn't the best. I will look for the heavier lighting and shoot black and white because it is very dramatic and it's handled well. I mean, look at the tones. If I can get zoom to stay, and so I could use the pen, and isn't going to happen. Okay. So the tones that I'm seeing, excellent detail in the highlights, excellent detail in the shadows, even the deeper shadows. Maybe work this up a little more detail, but look at how that cross stands out. Again, the placement, again, just that little bit of moving the camera right or left to get that cross to be right in the dark blue, the black of the sky, and the clouds supporting it. I think this is a really strong, very strong line coming in here, supported by other angles of the roof line here. And then we haven't used the juxtaposition word yet, but I guess we'll do that. thoughts of Dennis Hammond. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a very, very strong feeling. I would like to have seen this little bit of the difference in the top of the mat does pull my eye unnecessarily to the top. And then there's a texture in the mat that, I maybe would have liked to not seen it. Minor thing. And then again, maybe the key line, we've got black in the image, so that's fine, but I would like to maybe seen the key line, maybe a 50-70% gray instead. So it's there, it's supportive, but it is saying, look at me, just enough, because there's such a contrast between the key line and the mat. Other than that, I like this image a lot. So
yeah. Really good points. And I'll tell you, my thought was, as far as more area being on the bottom of the mat than the top. I learned this years ago from a framer and who cuts mats as well, that when you allow more space on the bottom of an image than the top, it's called weighting.
right.
WEIGHTED or ING. And in this case, I think a little bit more on the bottom, because it's almost close to the top, but not quite. So if there was a little bit more on the bottom, I think it would have sent the message more clearly that it was weighted. But good comments.
Cool. All right. We got a few to go here, so let's move along. So let's go with Fallen. There's no mat on this one, but let me make it just a little larger for you. So the gray you're seeing is just the background of the palette. Let me zip over to see if I can do that. Look at that. My God, I did it. Let's quit. We're done. That's it. I got it. Let's go. Let's go home.
You got it down on the last 3 images.
Rick, I'm going to start with you just to give Kari a little bit of a break.
Oh, sure.
Starting off, since it's the portrait world, what do you think?
Oh, man. Well, let's talk about composition. Nice, narrow vertical composition that really brings the couple together. There's obviously storytelling to the image. The lighting is, I think, handled well. Maybe coming, bringing the light a little further, camera left, almost behind, because we're coming in a little bit more at this angle, just to create a little bit more of a shape on the subject's face. And I know I'm going to say something that may or may not bum people out, but there are secondary main lights that we used to learn about back when we were little kiddies, you know.
A long time ago.
Main light coming in on this subject, and a secondary main light further behind that's coming in on this subject, but it still gives the illusion that that light is coming obviously from one direction, but it has the illusion that it's one light. Now, you know, we got a little bit of a concern for me, you know, in almost the disjointed look of the shoulder, and you know, this dancer, I'm going to presume, you know, her hand coming out from her waist, maybe something a little bit more fluid where the arm and hand is coming out, and maybe it's a dance style or something that's the way it's supposed to be, and I'm not so sure of that. But and then bringing the gentleman's hand in, just clasping her hand maybe with the thumb gently on her hand. But you know, I'm hoping I'm not being too harsh, but this is why we're here. But it's a beautiful image. I think there's potential for this. I think the color harmony is handled well, and you said it was full bleed, Jeffy, so maybe a presentation would help it out.
Kari, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with everything that was said there. I think, you know, for me, the main concern was the hand here on the stomach. I think, you know, even if she would have just dropped and turned that shoulder towards us just a little bit so we could see a little bit more of that arm, you know, to have it be attached somewhere that we could see the line of her arm, I think would have helped that a little bit. But a beautiful story. She's got beautiful emotion. I know sometimes it's hard with models, but she's got beautiful emotion in her face. And he doesn't have quite the emotion in his face. So, you know, trying to have him have a little bit more feeling in his face too, I think would help. But yeah, definitely beautiful lighting, beautiful color tonality on this image.
The only other thing I would add to it is I actually like, he's definitely very secondary. He's a prop in this to me. I don't mind that he doesn't have any expression to speak of, because he's just helping her achieve her dance, her pose, whatever. So I don't mind that expression. I think it's handled well. I even like that there's not as much light in his eyes that makes her stand out a little bit more. But I totally agree with all the other things you're saying. And the dumbest little things that happen. And sometimes you'll see something in an image, and the first thing that caught my eye was the shadow under her arm. And I can't not see it now. And it's minor, but if it was just a little bit lighter, it wouldn't be this black. I mean, you gotta let it dry. I mean, that sounds kind of weird, but it's one of those things that I think I would have lightened this area up just a little bit to not be so contrast between, especially the bright light on the shoulder and the underarm. Okay, we got to move along. We got a few images to go here, so
I'll tell you what, man, I'm learning so much tonight from you guys.
I love listening to what you and Jeff have to say too, different than, you know, we see what each judge sees something different in individual. And when we hear it from other judges too, I think
isn't that true?
Yeah,
that's very true. That's what I think has been kind of fun for me over the years to judge. And both Rick and I grew up with fathers who were judges. And so we had a chance to really start learning how to listen early on. Yeah, lots to be learned. I don't care how long you've been doing it. One other thing I was going to throw at you real quick. I dropped in the chat box for everybody, if you haven't opened it, I dropped in a copy of the 12 Elements of Design. So feel free to, it's a PDF, to download it and have it if you haven't already. That's there for you folks. So this is called, and I looked the title, I forgot, Elevated Illusions.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, I would be super high if I were giving this a score. This would give a real high score.
Absolutely.
Trying to come up with anything that I could say that I would do different. I don't know what I would say because it's beautiful. I'm not sure. I mean, just minor things, but I'm not sure what this is right here on that edge. If it's an edge of the overpass or something along that lines, but to me, maybe just clean that little area up right there, right up to the edge there. And then
oh, I see. That's the edge of the highway, actually.
Is it
a little bit of an overhang?
An overhang that's kind of sticking out there.
The lighted area would be the support, like the girders, and then there's a little bit of the overhang.
Okay.
Same idea as up here.
Okay. I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. Maybe a tiny bit thinner with the key line on the inner bevel there. But yeah, I wouldn't change much with this.
Rick?
Holy shish kebab. Okay, we're supposed to be here to.
So let me say one more thing.
Yeah.
One thing that was taught to me as a judge is when we're critiquing an image, when you are having a hard time, because it is a good image, when you're having a hard time finding anything that you would critique or change, talk about what's good about it.
Yeah.
You know, talk about why it's good instead of looking for something to change or that. So Rick, there you go. Talk about why it's good.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, I thought my comment said it all.
Well, it sounded a little pain.
Because that was my interpretation of impact.
Yeah.
We've got impact, we've got composition going all over the place here with the curved lines. I think that the tonal values have been held wonderfully. Gosh, so we have points of contrast, and our eye tends to go to the areas of highest contrast. And I'm floating around this image and I'm just enjoying it. I guess if there was anything that I would think of, it would maybe be to take out this vertical, whatever it is. Gosh, and that's so minor, but anyone who knows or is part of this scene regularly would say, well, you're crazy. That's supporting something. But as an artistic piece and a fine art piece, geez, how can you fault it?
I can't add anything more to it. It's absolutely, the lighting is gorgeous. The tonal range throughout. I mean, you easily hit all shades of gray here. The only thing I would do differently is I'd put Jeff Johnson right here in the corner. And
then we would all visit you at jail for plagiarism.
Now, absolutely a stunning image. Good work. All right, moving along here. We have Delicate.
Can I take this one, Kari?
Sure.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Really neat concept, nice color values. Unfortunately for me, unless I'm, my monitor is way off, what I would assume to be the center of attention is very, very soft. What are you guys seeing?
Yeah, that was going to be my comment too. It's just the the soft focus on it and the lack of depth of field. I sometimes like that lack of depth of field a little bit, but this is just a little bit too much. And that soft focus just really, to me, I'm having a hard time finding what I'm supposed to be looking at for the image.
One other thing I might add to it, I'm going to go back to Photoshop here and do the crop tool, is maybe, yeah, Photoshop, come on, help me out here. Okay, maybe taking it even just, I mean, I love the concept. I love the zeroing in on the thing, but maybe just even bringing it into really, really almost overpower the viewer with what we're doing. I agree with that sharp aspect of what you're talking about, but maybe just bringing it in something like this that just really says, here's what I want you to see. Just a thought.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful, but I don't know if this area is supporting it as much as now we really go into this spot right here. That's all. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Moving along. While I clean that up, we'll get that in a minute. We have Delicate in Nature. Let me get rid of the pen colors again there. No. So funny, I get stuck in between, like the crop tool's on and I can't get rid of it. But if I try and go back to Photoshop, there we go. It won't let me do it. Is that just the weirdest thing? Okay, sorry about that, kids. Go ahead, Kari.
All right. Delicate in Nature. I enjoy the
Hands off.
I enjoy the title of this. The focus right on the center portion of this is beautiful. We've got a good color tonality where we've got purples in the background, purples in the border. The key line is the color of the key line to me is just a little bit off. I don't know if I would try to, I think you picked this, purplish color that's
Probably
right
out of
in
here,
here,
yeah.
maybe. But I would revisit that. A couple things that I see. Oh, yeah. See, again, I'm pointing with my mouse thinking you can see me. Anyway, a couple things that I would, take a look at again is we've got some overworking here where we're causing, a little bit of sharpness and funniness going on those edges there. And then I'm not sure if it's the zoom part of this or if this is true in the image, but I see a lot of different color banding through here.
Yeah.
So I'm seeing different lines like this, coming in through that background. So really that background needs to be smoothed out a little bit more. Yeah, some of those same areas. So, to me, it looks like the sharpening on it took it up to a point where it's too much.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think it's a little bit too much in the sharpening. Beautiful concept. I love the closeness of the flower, really bringing us into its life. But I feel like it is just a little bit over sharpened. And then the other things you mentioned about the key line. Again, that rounded corner we talked about. Colors I don't mind, but maybe a little thinner, maybe just a little brighter in the stroke. But Rick, anything you want to add?
No, thank you. You guys covered.
Okay. Close that off here. Let's go with, this is called Dawson. Again, it's a smaller file, so I'm at 200%. There's no matte on it, so I don't want to go any larger.
That's fine.
Rick, why don't you jump into this nice portrait here and tell us what's
no
matte, as I mentioned.
Yeah, no problem. Because now we know that we would want to do that. We'd want to have a presentation, but really strong lighting, a lot of mood to this image. Might want to come in and excuse me, tone, well, not so much the bottom, but maybe, tone down the chest just a little bit. We've very, very good lighting, in my opinion. I understand what's going on with the arms, that he's, has his hands behind his bottom there. And it's certainly shows off, the kind of waist that Jeff and I have.
Once when I was 6.
Yeah. But I'm just concerned, with the shoulder bulging out like that and nothing to support it or give us, evidence of his arm there. We've got a little bit of a clubby type of a hand that I think can be postured in a little different fashion. But I really want to commend the photographer for the lighting, because it just really sculpts the face, the figure, the whole body, and the narrow vertical cropping, I think, was handled well.
I didn't do that.
For me to add a couple things that, the lighting is absolutely beautiful, and I enjoy that. I would look at this little dark spot in the corner right there. That is a little bit, out of line with the rest of the image. The other thing that I noticed is I'm not sure if it was a, smoke brush that was used or what the smoke effect is on this. But I'm seeing, I love it on the background in here. And I think
I quit. I can't get Zoom to be on top of it. Sorry.
Let's tell Joe again. This little portion of it is kind of bothering me. So if it was added in post with a smoke brush or something, I would revisit that part that's right on top, because there isn't anywhere else on his legs there, but just that one portion right there is kind of a hard a hard, if that was real smoke in the atmosphere and you had a smoke machine going, then you can't help that, but just thought I'd talk about it.
Good point. Good point.
Very cool. All right, let me move along. We have we got about 10 minutes left, 11 minutes left of the show technically, but we have about 7 images to go. So if you guys are okay hanging on.
Yeah.
Did we lose Jeff?
No.
Huh? What?
Okay. I didn't.
Oh no, I believe I'm still here.
Okay. Well, I didn't hear you respond.
Oh,
let's do it.
We have contemplation. I'll go ahead and jump on this one first for a change. Beautiful, clean profile. Just absolutely gorgeous lighting. We have a nice little triangle. Let's see. Let me get into Zoom if it'll let me do it properly. I don't know why it just won't let me do that. It just won't stay so that I can do the annotation. Can you see? See, I'm not in Zoom, so it won't let me. There we go. Let me do that again here. Beautiful triangle. Technically not a Rembrandt light because the shadow isn't touching here, but so what? It's just beautiful. Nice little detail in the eye and the eyelid, and the nice kiss of light all along the line of the chin and down the arm gives us nice little lead. Even the earrings placed nicely, soft shadow here. The hair lose a little bit in this area back here, which, yeah, we could bring that out a little bit. And the only other thing I would say, maybe on a negative side, is I am seeing double key line, and they're both pretty bright. I think I might have suggested either the attached or the detached, maybe even thinner, and maybe just one of them. But I even love the tone of the matte and the tone of the key line, but it is asking for a little bit of attention here. Kari, your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. Profile is just gorgeous. I'm not sure if it's Zoom or if it's true, but I'm losing the bottom of her chin here. It's kind of coming into like a muddiness that's smeared, and maybe that's just the way it's presenting across Zoom. So you'd probably
it might
be a better.
I do see just a fine, like if you follow this light, it just gives me a little bit. It is a little, it's very, very soft, but there is a enough definition there.
Okay. So it's probably just a rendition of the way it's coming across on Zoom. Yeah, nothing else to add. Maybe, I'm not sure about the crop on the ear here, if you have the full ear, or I don't know what the other thoughts are on that. I'm not sure about the crop on the ear.
Good call. I'm not sure. Yeah, I didn't really see it that way, but it's one of those things that now you see it and now you go, oh, okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe if the full ear, you can't really crop it off because then you lose.
Yeah, you lose the earring.
All
you
of
want to keep the earring.
That's nice. Yeah. Anything you want to add, Rick? Or
no, I agree, especially with the key lines. And I'm thinking, if we crop behind the ear, is that going to push her profile further left?
You're here.
Get it too close. I'm sorry. If we crop behind the ear, is that going to visibly push her too close to the?
Maybe, yeah. So this might be the right crop for it. Sometimes I always think when you look at it and try it, you know.
And I like to think, okay, we have these elements: the ear, the earrings, obviously the profile. Is this, if we did that crop, is it going to add that much more to the image by pushing her?
No, I like her earring.
Yeah, I do too.
Mm-hmm.
But I agree with you. The key lines and the opening up the shadow area here. Yeah, good.
Okay, cool. All right. Let's see. We have, well, this is a good one here. Canyon Cathedral. Wow. Very dramatic. Let me get out the crop tool there and see if I can get us back over to Zoom properly. Look at that. Can't do it. I've tried like 4 different ways to go back to Zoom, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So we'll just let it go right there.
Still this is your bag, Jeffy.
Yeah, yeah. You know, it worked at 4 o'clock this afternoon just fine. You guys should have tuned in then. So what I mean, my applaud to the maker for seeing this scene. That's what I always think is cool, is when people can see stuff that's out of the ordinary, see things that are maybe a small slice of this probably beautiful scene, to see the light coming through, to capture the God rays. And I can't help, I always love this. My friend Jeremy calls these Jesus lines, whatever. But to capture that, just to really help pull in some depth to the scene, the lightness, the deep shadows, and then still have a little bit of detail in the background. I do feel like it's maybe a tiny bit bright, could be just a little bit deeper in these tones to give it a little bit more of that later light level, a little more warm light, but I wouldn't want to lose. Look at the nice cool tones back in there. The matte, the lip, all that stuff are just a nice little touch. Want to add to that?
No, I think you've got it. The only thing I was going to say is the tonality of the bright areas could be taken down just a little bit.
Yeah. And I was looking at an area right here, and you know, they're not really adding a whole lot to them, and I don't think it'd be a big deal just to eliminate them.
And probably even maybe these trees right here too.
Sure.
It just, yeah, you're right. Good point. It keeps the vision coming this way. The story instead of wandering back here, because I mean, there's plenty of soft detail all through the back here, and it fades out nicely here. So our eyes come right back to this. I think this is definitely something that I would definitely work on, and maybe take a few things out like that, and maybe again, I'm talking very slight tonality. Can't even see my yellow on the white there, but to just maybe tone that down just a little bit more. I might even pop a little bit more green in the scene. Minor thing, but yeah, very cool. Good work.
Nice image.
So then we have, let's see, Boston Reflection. Again, there's no matte on this, just so you know.
Okay.
Go just a hair larger for you. And Kari, your thoughts?
Yeah, fun scene, like you say, finding that little slice of something fun to see within a scene. So I think that was done there. The title describes what we're seeing here. I wouldn't have known it was Boston, so I think that's a good descriptive title. Subject matter, I'm not 100% sure I'm in love with it, just for the fact of the waviness of the reflection. I think it needs a little bit more punch up right now. I feel like there's nothing it just doesn't have quite enough contrast in it. Yeah.
Contrast and consider black and white.
Oh,
that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Make it a graphic piece.
Might be real powerful. To
I was going to say, be careful with the lines too, because we've got a lot of converging lines here. And I would want to make sure that, you know, this was 100% straight, not curved like my drawing there. You know, and even considering with a transform tool, pulling this side out just a little bit to try to get those lines just a little bit straighter up and down, so we don't have the convexing. Is that the right word? The convexing of the lens.
I think that works.
I really think experiment with it in black and white.
Yeah.
And punch up that contrast.
Okay. So then we have bikes on a wall. Now this is the kind of stuff I love because it's so different. It's unique. I mean, who'd photograph bikes hanging on a wall? but I mean, but just look at the nice simple flow. Let me see if I am brave enough to take it back to Zoom. Nope. The nice flow of the bikes. I mean, I exaggerate a little bit there, but it's just kind of cool. The color tones in this are really fantastic. Even the color of I might have made this inner matte, we'll call it, this lip, maybe half the size. I don't mind the black. Maybe I would even take that a little softer, but the colors are great. Very neutral, very coordinating with the scene. Love the long, narrow, lots of great motion. The colors of the bikes really stand out, even though they're rather subtle colors. They stand out nicely. Great texture, great detail. And even the sun hitting the little shine we got going on here. I mean, just little stuff like that. That's little chunks of reality right there. I like that kind of stuff. Rick, what do you think?
Great points. I'm not real sure what's going on right here. I'd have to see a larger image, but I think that could just be taken out. But artistically, this is really well rendered, very creative, thought-provoking. Man, can you see this in a shop? Or all of these hobbyists that cycle. Well, we have one here, don't we, Kari?
Yes, I was just going to say, when I saw the thumbnail of this, it piqued my interest just because I am a road rider cyclist. So it did pique my interest for that. So like you say, a graphic piece for an artist or for a art gallery or for a hobbyist and cycling or something. That's a great image.
It would speak to that hobbyist.
Exactly. Just think of how many miles you could ride on this Stingray. Wow.
Probably not my century.
2 blocks, and you'd be like, okay, let's pick up golf.
Do you, Kari, do you know what that seed is called?
That's a banana seed.
Atta girl. Well, you know that.
Yeah, I used to ride those back when I was a kid.
Hey guys, okay, to show you, I had one. Of course, the male version had the bar across here. I used to sit so far back on here that this bar broke.
Oh, it broke off.
You're constantly pulling the wheelies and all that stuff, and then it broke on me. All right. Good stuff.
Nice.
I really like that image a lot. Okay, let's see. We need to go back to PS, and we have now done that. We've done that. I guess we are here. As the fog rolls in, again, no matte on this. Let me go up a notch here and give you a little more better view. If I could stop the wheel from jumping. Come on, there we go.
I think I've been there. Is this in Oregon? Good
question.
I think that's in Oregon.
Oh, yeah. So it looks like the Columbia River Gorge. Yeah, that's the overview right there. Yeah. Beautiful area.
Yeah, gorgeous. My first thoughts are I'd like to see beautiful image, beautiful fog rolling in, nice descriptive title. I'd like to see a little bit more detail in these darker areas in these trees, and maybe just let me get my little drawing thing. Maybe just a little slight crop off that top. I'd still like to see the these kept somewhere in the thirds. I like the thirds composition with that. So make sure you don't crop too much off the top there. Beautiful.
So I'm looking at, I might even crop it down here.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would eliminate this little bit of trees right here. Because that just kind of, the clouds are soft and moving, and then all of a sudden you get this abrupt stop. So I might get rid of that. Maybe even, oops, that was nice. Bring the crop up here. I do a straight crop, but yeah.
You wouldn't crop it wavy like that?
No, probably not. Yeah. But how cool that is. But I mean, look at the even little things, like look at the nice, this rock first catches my eye. Well, here's our submarine, but look at the nice triangle that
Yeah.
we have going on here that keeps us moving through the scene. And then you wander off and look at, we got repeating patterns of triangles and all the trees and so on the diagonal. There's
Yeah,
no
I was just
triangle
gonna say
here.
that diagonal.
Yeah. And yet we keep coming back to, and I might have, again, my thing, I might have lightened the building, the observatory just a little bit, so it stood out a little bit more. Anything else?
Yeah, another thing I'd be careful of is sometimes in clouds, some little dark patches within the cloud can almost look like sensor dust. And so you're going to get a judge who, like me, would go, oh, there's sensor dust in the cloud right there. So I'd watch a couple of these little spots in here.
Yep, good point.
Just to make sure, I still like the definition, that we see in all the clouds in here, but just some of those little circular ones in there, just be careful. Those silly judges who don't know what they're talking about will call it out as sensor dust.
Those portrait judges, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And then the maker is going to be sitting there cussing us out, going, "That was not sensor dust. That was in the cloud." Anyway,
right? No, and that's true. The clouds, let me just clear that out. Clouds do that. You'll get that. That's just a dark, just a different formation. You'll get that not sharp, but obvious patches. But yes, it does pull the eye, and for an untrained, for a beautiful portrait artist who doesn't do this kind of thing. And the other thing I've heard, and this is I'm just making a comment. I have many images where you can see the edge of the sun. And I've had judges say, that's not real. Let me just say it out loud. Sure as hell is. All right. Good stuff here, guys.
Well, Jeffy.
What? All right. What else do we have here? Do we have anything decent? Go for this one here. What's a bumper between friends?
Great title.
What's your thoughts, Kari?
Yeah, beautiful image. Beautiful in a rustic kind of way. I really enjoy the image, enjoy the title. The bumper between friends makes us laugh. Couple thoughts here that I am seeing as far as taking this to a little bit higher. This little white spot right there, I would tone that down, as well as this whole section up here is quite bright. So I don't know if
the roof there. I got you. Oh, okay.
It's not necessarily the roof of the car. I think the roof of the car is okay. I'm talking about the background in there. So just burning down some of that light areas, that's going to bring the cars right out at us instead of kind of fading off towards the top. Where the light just kind of goes whoop and just brings us right up to the top. I think darkening that top section there is going to bring us right back into the cars.
Good call. Rick.
Yes. Okay. We talk about tonal values and we need to see detail on the highlights and shadows. And I have to think that depends on the image. This is a very striking image. I really enjoy it. Very high contrast. We're void of detail in a lot of areas. And in this particular case, it doesn't bother me because of the story that's being told. This is an image for me that I would see, in the 60s or 70s in a Look magazine or something like that, of a particular feature article that really tells the story. And I guess that's where I'm going with this, is the storytelling strength of this image. I guess we could, tone down some areas and everything, but to me, it's more reportage than illustrative.
Good point. Yeah,
it appeals to me.
Very cool.
And that's what matters.
What appeals to you? Okay, let's see what else we got here. We have not gonna let me do it, are you here? That's Photoshop. That's there's one more image and it's just not.
Two more, and so it begins. I'd hate to have one person short on their
There we
image.
go. Morning in the Tetons.
Yeah, stunning, stunning. Again, this is one of those images looking for, you know, something to critique, and there's just not a lot to critique. I think the center horizon line it lends to this image very well, because you know, a lot of times they'll say don't put the horizon line in the center, it's just slightly off center, but because of that, you know, we've still got thirds of our image. You know, we've got the mountain section third, the top section, and then this bottom section. The, you know, boat here gives us a subject, secondary subject outside of the mountains, so it gives it a little bit of character. I'm assuming these little white spots are your pen marks, Jeff, and not on the image.
Yeah, that was my
yeah. If they're on the image, those need to be taken care of. But yeah, very well done. I don't have a lot to critique on this image because it's beautiful.
I really enjoy everything that you said, Kari. Plus the presentation is so subtle but just really supports the image. Is it morning or mooring? MOORING or morning?
Morning time. Morning.
Because shoot, that title could
that works for that. That does work too. Yeah, not much more I can say. I mean, this is one of those cases we're talking about the mats. There is a texture in the outer mat, but it's so subtle. Don't even know if it's necessary, but it does keep it from just being a black spot.
Yeah.
There's no black in the sky.
Yeah, this is beautimous.
Beautimous. Very cool. All right. I think that was the last image.
I think there was one more in there, Jeff.
I think there was too. It was kind of a brown tone-ish image.
I was gonna say a black and white one.
I was looking at Wise Owl. Is it Wise Devil? I can't make it out. It's very small.
Okay, so I have so the images go from the one we just looked at up in the upper left down to this row right here.
Yeah, we did not look at And So It Begins, the last one there.
We did not. Let's see if
that was the one I was looking at.
Let me see if I can get Photoshop.
And there's another one. It looks like he's.
There we go.
Okay.
So again, we have, let me enlarge it and bring it back in. Even mat all the way around. Not a white mat, it's that off-white, which I think is, I'll just make that comment real quick, is that we've talked about this a few times on the show and in competition. A white mat can really pull your eye, even though it might be appropriate for the scene of high key. Taking it just off of white, just a few points or however you want to look at it, to a subtle gray, I think is a lot more neutral, a lot more beneficial for you. I think it'll balance the image, even if there is stronger white on the scene. I think this is going to be quite a positive for this color of matte. And look at how well it goes with the very subtle tonal range from the darkest part of the water to the sky that really disappears on us, which is beautiful. And it really brings us back to these two little rings where it looks like a rock or something had just been plopped in the water, and then this one that's just a little bit predates that by a millisecond or two. So obviously your eye goes to that, all of the subtle exposures, subtle patterns, the little bits of ring there. We visit those, but we come right back here to this great balance point. Kari?
Yeah, exactly. Very well done. You know, we look at the tonal range and the contrast and the amount of contrast that we have in that first drop there on the left. Absolutely fantastic. And we know exactly where we want to look, and your eye will travel around these, you know, bottom lines and right back to our subject. So very well done. The mat, I don't have anything to say about that. Yeah, beautiful.
Rick?
Yeah, I agree totally with everything. My concern is the blending of the image. Notice how we have separation bottom and on the sides, and then it tends to blend in to the whatever bottom mat down here. that would be a concern for me.
You're talking about just the top of the image, the picture
Yes,
itself?
yes.
Yeah, I see what you're saying there. It does. If there's just a little bit of definition, tiniest bit more, it might be
Right.
might be more better.
Yeah, I noticed that, and that didn't seem to bother me at all. But again, different judges, have different
These
opinions.
portrait guys, you know.
Well, we like things right.
Oh, touche,
Right,
my
Cliffy?
friend.
Right, Cliffy?
Touche.
So, Rick, what would you do in this case?
Yeah, we know we're clips on this one too, right?
Would you?
That's
would
exactly
you
right, Rick.
crop
What'd you
this?
say, Cliffy?
No, I said I just agreeing with you. We like things right.
What was that, Kari, about cropping?
I was just asking Rick what he would do about that situation. Would you crop it so that you have a darker tonality against the edge
I
there?
don't think I'd crop it, but this bottom base mat or whatever it is, just a little bit of a different tonal value, just so that we have separation.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Very cool. All right, let's see. I think that was our last image. And yes, it was. Just do a quick review here, see if I forgot any. Didn't mean to forget anybody if I have. If I have, please let me know in the chat box if you're still watching. If not, if I have forgotten anybody, we'll certainly bring it up next month. But it looks, I think we got everything.
Cool.
Very cool. Let me get out of stop sharing here. Get back to the real world. Hi, everybody. Thanks for hanging out with us still. We still have a good crowd out here. Gosh, we've gone over a little bit. Well, who cares? We'll take the recordings and we'll put them up. And my bad, I did not put the recording of last month on the site. And I know a couple of people asked me about it, and I totally didn't even think about it. So I'll get to that. I'll do that right away with this one as well. So feel free to look at we've got all the episodes we've done so far on the site. Feel free to look through it and jump ahead. And if you have questions about any of that stuff, you know, Rick and I are always open to helping. We've got a service on our site on the Image Critique Show of several different things where we'll do, you know, one-on-one coaching with you. We also will do a portfolio review, and I think we're working on a little special. That was George Carlin hates that one. Where we're gonna offer you a chance to provide us with we'll give you, I don't know what kind of time yet, but you'll get both of us and we'll do a portfolio review. So however many images we can do in an hour or hour and a half, whatever we end up doing for $1,500. Kidding. Anyways, what do you want to add to that, Rick?
Deposit.
Three monthly installments after that for the balance.
Well, yeah. Before we leave, of course, and looks like we have 21 still with us here. I just want to express my gratitude and Jeff's to Kari. Gosh, what a wonderful job you did tonight. It's always such a pleasure hanging out with you, however few minutes we do it, imaging or judging. But I have the ultimate respect for you. And as I mentioned earlier on, before we came on and started the show, that your passion and your enthusiasm seems to be what drives you, and that certainly came through tonight. We really appreciate that. And to our participants, you know, Kari took time out of her evening, as you did, to, you know, share her expertise and her knowledge, and just want to thank her and thank all of you. She could have been doing anything else tonight. She's got her family. She's got a trip coming up or two, and we're certainly grateful for that. So Thank you, Kari. Thank you,
You're
guys.
welcome.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Kari.
Thank you for having me because it's something I truly enjoy. From the very first image competition that I ever watched as a new person in photography and went to my local club on competition night, I was just enthralled with competition. So, that was the start of the journey, and going to judging school and having Rick as my instructor. He was absolutely fabulous instructor and so kind and compassionate. I just loved every minute of it. But yeah, I'll have people ask me, how can you sit there and look at images, in a dark room for 4 days in a row, back when we used to go to judge for IPC all those days in a row and stuff. And it's like, I just love every minute of it. So
Yeah, it was exhausting, wasn't it? But it was so much fun.
yeah, exactly. And still enjoy it. I love seeing the beautiful images, and I'm just blown away by the creativity. And like these two guys said, we learn as we do this when we see these. And sometimes I wish my stuff could be half as good as the stuff I see.
Oh, isn't that true? Yeah. There's
Yeah.
a lot of times I see stuff and go, man, I wish that was mine. Geez.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, any quick questions for Kari or for anybody before we head out? Seeing a lot of thank yous. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate all the information. Appreciate you sticking around. We'll be on again on the 27th, I think it is, of July, not July, August, with another wonderful friend of ours. I got to get his information on the website yet. So we will have more of that coming up, and that's all I got.
Thank you all so very much.
Thank you for watching the Image Critique Show with Jeff Johnson and Rick Avalos. Learn more by checking them out at theimagecritiqueshow.com.